Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into what is, well, arguably one of the most common tripwires in English for anyone really striving for that advanced fluency, that tiny two-letter preposition to.
It seems so fundamental, doesn't it? I mean, we rely on to constantly to indicate direction, like going to the store,
right,
or really, talking to a friend. It's an indispensable part of millions of phrases.
Absolutely. And the basic rule is drilled into us pretty early on, right? When you're moving toward a goal or a person you used to.
Standard procedure.
But the exceptions to this rule, they are numerous and they can be brutal for learners, adding to where it doesn't belong. It's one of those small, subtle errors, but it immediately signals that a speaker is navigating an advanced linguistic hurdle.
Exactly. And our deep dive today, it's really custom tailored for you, the listener, who wants to move beyond just being functional in English.
Yeah.
You want to sound truly confident. And our sources, they've synthesized this list of 16 specific words and structures where adding that preposition to, it kind of guarantees a grammatical slip up.
Okay.
And these errors, they typically stem from trying to apply that standard pattern, like go to work, just sort of universally where it doesn't fit.
So our mission today is to do more than just list the errors, right? We're going to explore the structural why behind these specific exceptions.
That's the goal.
We want you to understand when a word is inherently directional enough to just, jettison the preposition altogether. We are aiming for the ultimate shortcut, really, to confident native-sounding English, and we're starting immediately with the big one, a location exception that seems to break all the standard rules. Okay, let's start with the one I think I hear most frequently. And it involves that simple concept, just going back to where you live.
Right.
Now, if I follow the standard rule, verb plus preposition plus location I logically construct, I'm going to home. Tell me why that feels so correct logically, but is just fundamentally wrong.
It feels correct because you are applying the standard English pattern, movement, to a physical destination. That's what we usually do.
Okay.
But I'm going to home is incorrect because home in this specific construction, well, it isn't acting like a standard noun of location. It's functioning more like an adverb of place.
An adverb of place. Okay, that's a crucial distinction.
It really is. When you're using the verb go, specifically, the structure is mandatory. I'm going home, period.
Right.
It's a linguistic exception where the word home just carries the entire directional meaning within itself. It doesn't need that external prepositional help that to usually provides. It's like an ancient construction, really ingrained in the language.
So home is already doing the job of saying, to the place where I live.
That's a perfect way to phrase it, actually. It is inherently directional in this context.
Okay.
Now, to truly appreciate how powerful and, frankly, how isolated this exception is, we really need to reinforce the standard rule it's breaking.
Yeah, because if you, the listener, are ever in doubt about why we usually need to, just try using this no-to structure with any other location.
Exactly. If we substitute literally any other common destination, dropping to just makes the sentence collapse grammatically.
Yeah.
You absolutely must say, I'm going to work, I'm going to school, or I'm going to the gym.
Right.
You just cannot say, I'm going work or I'm going school. It sounds jarringly incomplete.
So the moment you drop that to anywhere else, you break the standard rule.
Correct.
But with home, the moment you add to, you break the exception. That contrast really highlights how special and how isolated this rule is.
Definitely. Now, we have to spend adequate time on the strict limitations of this exception, because this is where even learners who know I'm going home can get tripped up later.
Ah, okay.
This rule is extremely narrow.
So where are the landmines here? What do we need to watch out for?
Well, the first landmine is pretty simple. This exception applies only to the word home, just that one word. It doesn't extend to other similar terms that describe a residence. You have to treat those like normal locations.
Meaning you need the to.
Meaning you need the to. You must say, I'm going to my house, or I'm going to the condo.
So house and condo are just regular nouns of location, treated normally, needing to, but home operates as that special adverb.
Correct. But the second limitation is even trickier, and it involves modifiers, possessives, things like that.
Okay.
The no-to rule generally only applies when home is being used in that general, often implicit way referring to your own residence, usually.
Right.
The moment you introduce a possessive like his or her, or maybe a descriptive modifier before home, it often strips away that special adverbial quality. It reverts back to functioning like a standard noun.
Okay, give me an example of the error here then.
The error would be saying, I'm going his home.
Ah, right. Sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong because we introduced the modifier his. Now, home loses that special function. If you try to modify it like that, you must revert to the standard structure, which requires to. So the correct sentences are either, I'm going to his home, or, maybe even more commonly, people just say, I'm going to his house.
Ah, okay. So once we specify which home, his home, her home, maybe my childhood home, the word gets pulled out of its special category.
Exactly.
It becomes a regular noun again, and it needs that prepositional director, the to. It's only when home stands alone as the implicit general destination that the no-to rule holds.
It's a delicate piece of grammar, isn't it?
Yeah.
The distinction is absolutely vital for you to remember. You go home, but you go to the house and you go to his home.
Okay, so that location exception showed us how one unique word can skip the need for a preposition. Now we move into the core group of offenders, as it were, the direct object verbs.
Right.
These are verbs that are inherently directional, or they complete the action directly onto the object without needing the help of a preposition like to.
And before we list them, maybe we need a clear definition, because this is the fundamental structural difference we're really hunting for today.
Good idea. What exactly is a direct object verb in this context?
Simply put, it's a transitive verb where the action passes immediately directly from the verb to the object.
Okay.
It doesn't need a prepositional phrase to guide the action. You can think of the verb as carrying its own direction, like a missile maybe,
Right.
rather than needing an external guide like to.
Okay, I like that analogy. So in the examples we're about to discuss, you, the listener, need to keep asking this core question. Is the verb strong enough to connect directly to the noun? Does it have its own missile guidance?
Exactly. And this list, it's full of verbs related to achievement, entry, proximity, things like that.
Right.
And they are constantly confused because their synonyms often do require a preposition. That's the trap.
Okay, let's start with goal attainment then. Reach and approach. I definitely hear sentences like, we reached the airport on time. Why does our brain instinctively want to put that to in there?
Well, I think it's because we're mentally translating from the very common phrase, get to.
Ah,
Since reach and get to are synonyms, we try to force them into the same grammatical structure. It feels parallel.
makes sense.
But reach is a direct object verb. It means to arrive at or to attain. It already contains the direction within the verb itself.
So the correct phrasing is simply, we reached the airport on time. Verb plus noun. That's it.
That's it. The moment you add to, you are essentially adding a duplicate directional signal. It's redundant and grammatically incorrect in standard usage.
But if you wanted the prepositional structure,
Then you'd use its synonym. We got to the airport on time. The meaning is identical, but the required structures are completely opposite.
okay, that's a key contrast. And this applies equally to abstract goals too, right? Which is an important application for many learners.
Absolutely. You don't say, I will reach to my fluency goals.
Right.
You attain the goal directly. So,
Sure.
I will reach my fluency goals. The action of reaching is complete upon the object itself.
Got it. An approach follows the identical rule for proximity, moving closer to something.
It does. Approach means to move near something. The movement, the direction, is inherent in the verb.
Okay.
So you simply say, we're approaching the station, not we're approaching to the station.
And if you wanted to use a prepositional structure to describe that same proximity,
You'd have to use a different word entirely. Something like, we're close to the station. Or maybe, we're almost at the station.
that's a perfect contrast again. Approach carries its own direction. Close needs the directional helper too.
Exactly. Now let's move on to verbs about participation and entry. Join and enter. These verbs imply movement into a space or group, which makes that to temptation very high for learners.
Yeah, I can see that. So for join, the error is, I'm so happy to join to the team.
Right.
And the correction is just simply, I'm so happy to join the team.
Correct. And here is maybe the core structural lesson of this entire section. The contrast between join and belong.
Yes, this is a classic trap. Because I can correctly say, I'm so happy to belong to the team.
You absolutely can, and you must use to with belong. That's because join and belong operate in completely different grammatical universes, essentially.
How so?
Join describes a dynamic action. The moment of entry, right? The initiation of membership. It's transitive. It takes a direct object like, I joined a great team last year. The action is done to the team.
Okay, it's an action. Whereas belong.
Belong describes an ongoing static state of being a member. It's not an action, it's a condition.
I see.
And belong, because it describes a state, requires the preposition to link that state of belonging to the object of the belonging, the team in this case.
Okay.
This difference dynamic action versus static state, that's your key structural indicator for which verb needs the preposition and which one rejects it. If the word is describing a direct, discrete action, you usually drop the two.
That concept action versus state, that also helps explain the rule for enter, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. You don't say, she entered to the office, you say, she entered the office.
Direct action again.
Direct action. Enter means to go into, and the direction is built right into the verb itself. We can even connect this back to section 1, right? Contrast the direct action verb, enter, with the basic movement verb go. She entered the office. No two.
Yeah.
She went to the office. Needs the two.
Okay, so the verb enter is just maybe more formal and inherently more complete than go.
You could think of it that way, yeah. And lastly, in this list of direct object verbs, we have attend. This one is often misused in phrases like, we attended to the meeting.
No, wait a second. I thought attend to was a correct phrase in English, like attend to your duties.
Good point. It is a correct phrase, but the meaning is completely different. And that's exactly why the grammar flips.
Okay.
When you attend to something, it means you are giving care or attention or service to it. For example, the nurse must attend to the patient's needs. That construction requires to because it means give attention to.
I see. Okay. So when attend means to be present at an event or location like a meeting, it reverts back to being a direct object verb.
Precisely. To mean to be present at, you must use the direct structure. We attended the meeting. Verb plus object.
And if you wanted to use a prepositional phrase to mean you were present,
you'd have to swap verbs again.
Yeah.
Maybe something like we participated in the meeting, or again, just a simple, we went to the meeting.
Okay.
So the structural lesson here is pretty important. If a verb has two distinct meanings, it might very well have two distinct grammatical requirements attached to those meanings. You have to know which meaning you're using.
Right. That makes sense. We're moving into communication verbs now, and this is where the rules start to get, well, truly slippery, I think, because many of these words have dual roles. They can act as a verb or a noun.
Yeah.
And that duality is what dictates the to usage.
Exactly. Let's start with the one that seems to give people the most trouble. Contact.
The error is pretty obvious. I've contacted to your manager.
Heard it many times.
And the correct form is simply, I've contacted your manager.
Right. And the reason for the error, it's also pretty obvious when you think about it. Its structural synonyms, like talk and speak, both require to.
Ah, yeah. I've talked to your manager. I've spoken to your manager.
Exactly. So learners try to make contact follow the same pattern. But contact is fundamentally different. It is a direct action verb in this sense. It implies the establishment of communication, and it takes the object directly.
So it's like reach again?
Very much like reach. This is really a pure memorization point that hinges entirely on whether the specific verb requires that prepositional intermediary or not. Contact, like reach, doesn't. Talk and speak do.
Okay, now let's tackle the modern headache. The verbs that have pretty recently transitioned from nouns, email, text, and message. This dual functionality makes them complex.
Oh yeah, this is a critical trap.
Yeah.
Mastering this one makes a huge difference in sounding fluent. We absolutely have to separate the analysis based on the word's function in the sentence. Is it a verb or is it a noun?
Okay, let's focus on the verb form first. When they are used as verbs, they seem strong and direct.
Correct. When used as a verb, they take a direct object, which is usually the recipient, and the action is complete. No to is needed or allowed.
Can you give examples?
Sure. Example 1, email is verb. Can you email Jennifer the report? See, verb email, object Jennifer.
Okay.
Example 2, text is verb. I will text you the address later. Verb text, object you.
Got it.
Example 3, message is verb. Please message me if you are running late. Verb message, object me. The structure is clean. Verb plus noun, recipient.
Okay, that's clear. But the moment we introduce the word send, maybe, and these communication items revert to being nouns, then the structure flips.
It flips completely, and to becomes absolutely mandatory.
Why mandatory?
Because you have now separated the main action, which is send, from the recipient. The main verb send needs the preposition to direct the object, which is now the noun, an email, text, to the final destination, the recipient.
Okay, so the structure becomes main verb send plus noun, the item, like an email, plus to plus noun, the recipient.
Exactly. Let's run those same examples through the noun form.
Right.
Noun form example 1. Can you send an email to Jennifer? C. Send, verb, plus an email, noun object, plus to, plus Jennifer, recipient.
Okay.
Noun form example 2. I will send a text to you later.
Right.
Noun form example 3. Please send a message to me if you're running late.
Okay. So both structures are totally correct, but you absolutely have to know which role the word email text message is playing in your sentence, verb or noun.
This is the essence of advanced structural fluency.
Yeah.
If you hear someone say, can you email to Jennifer?
Yeah.
You know immediately they're conflating the two structures.
Right.
They're mixing the direct verb form with the indirect noun form mediated by send. They're adding that prepositional guide to where the verb itself, email, already performs the direction.
That is extremely clear. Thank you. Now, what about phone and call? Do they follow this exact same dual rule, verb versus noun?
Well, they follow the first half perfectly. As verbs, they are direct object verbs. Can you phone Jennifer? Or can you call Jennifer? Correct. No to is needed. The action is direct.
But our source material flagged a specific limitation here concerning the noun structure. What was that?
Yes. While the other three, email, text, message, are very commonly used as the noun object of send an email, send a text call. And phone don't really function idiomatically that way in this common structure.
Meaning
You would basically never say, can you send a call to Jennifer? Or can you send a phone to Jennifer? That just sounds highly unnatural, almost nonsensical in English.
okay. So even though they are communication tools, structurally, they behave primarily as direct object verbs in this kind of request structure, unlike the modern digital forms like email and text.
Exactly. For phone and call, you generally must use them as the action verbs directly on the recipient, or use entirely different correct prepositional structures like, I'm going to make a call to Jennifer, or give someone a call.
Got it. Different patterns required. Okay, this next section requires us to look really closely at how a word's grammatical classification, is it a verb, is it an adjective, changes the requirement for to and the marriage structure. Well, you called it a masterpiece of grammatical confusion.
It really is the ultimate litmus test, I think, for understanding that action versus state distinction we talked about earlier with join and belong.
Right.
Because you have the verb marry, the adjective married, and then the transitional verb phrase getting married. And each one has a different structural requirement regarding to.
Okay, let's break it down. Start with the action. Marry. The act itself, performing the ceremony or joining in matrimony.
Right. The verb marry is a direct object verb. It means to take someone as a spouse. The action is done directly to the person. So you say, I'll marry you. Never, ever, I'll marry to you. That's incorrect.
Okay, action equals direct object, no to. Got it. But when we describe the state that results from that action, using the adjective married, the to reappears.
It absolutely must reappear. If we use the adjective form, usually with be, to be married, the word married describes the relationship, the state. And the preposition to is required to link that state to the person you're related to. The adjective needs that prepositional bridge.
Example.
I am married to Brad. You need the to.
Okay. So if you, the listener, are asked about your current marital status, you must include to. I'm married to.
Correct. But what about the action of becoming married, the transition into that state?
Right, the phrase getting married.
The transition to get married also requires to because it describes the movement toward the state of being married.
So I'm getting married.
To Brad in June. Needs the to. And this pattern holds for similar state-defining relationship words too. The sources remind us that engaged follows the same rule. I'm engaged to Brad. The state of engagement is linked by to.
Okay, wow. So let me recap. We have the action verb, marry you, no to. The transition, getting married to you, requires to. And the resulting state, am married to you, requires to. That is a lot of structural switching for just one core concept.
It is.
Yeah.
And just to add one more little layer of complexity the sources mentioned, if you use a passive construction, the to is often still present. They were married to each other.
Okay.
But if you list the subjects together at the start, it vanishes again. You simply say, Brad and I are married. No to. The compound subject somehow eliminates the need for the prepositional linker in that specific structure.
That is genuinely confusing, yet clearly critical for sounding fluent. Okay, let's transition now to proximity descriptions.
Yeah.
Near versus close. They mean basically the same thing, right? But we structure them differently.
Yes, another classic example where the underlying grammatical role of the word is actually more important than its surface meaning. Near often functions almost like a standalone preposition or adverb itself, taking the place of a full prepositional phrase, meaning you simply say, the store is near the park. That's it. Adding to makes it redundant and incorrect in standard usage. The store is near to the park is generally considered wrong for physical proximity.
Okay, so near stands alone, but close requires the preposition to.
Absolutely requires it. Close in this context functions clearly as an adjective, and like other adjectives describing a state or relation, it needs that prepositional bridge to.
Example.
The store is close to the park. If you omit to here, the sentence is just incomplete. It sounds wrong. The store is closed. Cut the park.
Nope. Right.
So you really have to memorize the structural pairing here. It is near, usually no to for physical place, versus close to, always requires to.
But wait, the structural complexity continues. There's an idiomatic exception for near, isn't there, where we can use near to?
Yes, but only when the meaning shifts away from physical proximity.
Oh.
When near is used metaphorically, maybe to describe emotional proximity or importance rather than physical distance, the structure can change. And to becomes acceptable, even common. If I say, that book is very near to my heart, I'm obviously talking about significance, not the literal location of the book against my chest, right?
Right, of course.
And in that metaphorical sense, near to functions as a kind of fixed idiomatic phrase. It's allowed because the meaning has shifted. Whereas in purely physical descriptions, near the park, adding to remains generally incorrect or at least redundant. The meaning changes, and the grammar often follows in these idiomatic cases.
Okay, this final section perfectly illustrates the power of context in English grammar, I think. We are looking at the verb answer. And here, the simple addition or omission of to completely changes the meaning of the entire sentence. And both versions can be correct, just meaning different things.
This is exactly why advanced English can be so tricky, isn't it? The standard, most common usage of answer means to provide a response to a question or inquiry.
Okay.
In that context, it's a direct object verb, just like the ones we discussed back in section 2, like reach or contact.
So the error would be, she answered to the question.
Right. And the correct form is simply, she answered the question. Verb plus direct object.
Okay.
Exactly. Answer takes the object directly. And we must keep emphasizing the contrast here with synonyms.
Yeah.
You answer the question, no to, but you respond to the question requires to. Again, two synonyms demanding opposite grammatical structures.
Got it. Now let's introduce the idiomatic trap. When answer is used differently, specifically to discuss accountability or responsibility, the word to isn't just permitted, it's mandatory, and it shifts the entire meaning.
Yes, this is where we get into the concept of hierarchy or reporting structure. When you use the specific structure answer to plus someone, you are saying that someone is your superior or the entity you are responsible for providing explanations or justifications to. It's about accountability.
Okay, so if a manager says to an employee, you need to answer to the client on this matter, they are not just telling the employee to reply to the client's latest email.
Precisely not. They're establishing a reporting relationship or a line of responsibility for that issue. That phrase, answer to the client, means you are accountable to the client for the project outcomes or for explaining what happened. The to establishes that chain of command or accountability, not just the direction of a simple communication.
Wow. That's a really profound difference in meaning based solely on one tiny preposition. Let's use maybe a political example to hammer this home like the sources did.
Okay. If we say the government must answer the public's questions, that implies they need to provide responses to specific inquiries or concerns. It's about communication,
Right.
direct action.
Right.
But if we say the government must answer to the public, that phrase elevates the meaning entirely. The to makes it about ultimate responsibility, democratic accountability, the whole social contract, really. The relationship implied is inherently hierarchical. The public is, in theory, the ultimate authority the government is accountable to.
So the key takeaway here is that answer to the client, meaning accountability, is essentially a separate idiomatic verb phrase entirely.
Yeah.
It's structurally different from and carries a fundamentally different meaning than answer the client, meaning simple communication or response.
It is absolutely essential for you to recognize that distinction because using the wrong one drastically changes the implied relationship between the subject and the object, shifting it from a potentially equal communication to a defined hierarchy or accountability structure. #outro.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has really shown us that mastering English fluency isn't just about, accumulating more vocabulary words.
Not at all.
It's crucially about recognizing the underlying structural rules that determine whether a word needs that directional bridge, that tiny word to, or if the verb itself is strong enough, directional enough to stand alone.
And if we synthesize the, 16 traps we explored today, they really fall into 3 vital structural categories that you, the listener, need to be aware of basically every time you speak or write.
Okay, what are they again? First, that isolated location exception, which is basically only home when it's used as that special adverb, contrasting sharply with all standard locations that absolutely require to.
Right. Second, that expansive category of direct object verbs.
Yeah.
These are those dynamic action verbs that just skip the middleman's to words like reach, contact, join, enter, and also the direct action sense of verbs like attend, meaning be present at, and answer, meaning respond to. These verbs are inherently directional or complete.
Got it. And third, the communication verbs, where the primary trap is confusing that direct object verb form, like email Jennifer, with the noun form used with send an email to Jennifer, which absolutely requires that prepositional direction to.
The central lesson, really reinforced throughout our discussion, is that true fluency comes from recognizing the grammatical identity of the word you are using in that specific sentence.
Identity. How so?
Is it describing a state, like belong to or married to, which usually needs to? Or is it describing a discrete action, like join or marry, which often doesn't? Is it functioning as a verb that carries its own direction? Or is it acting as a noun that needs external direction from a preposition like to?
And since these rules, as we saw, often stem from history or idiomatic evolution, just memorizing the list probably won't be enough in the long run. You need that critical observational skill when you encounter English.
Exactly. Therefore, the final challenge, the final thought we want to leave you with is this. The next time you encounter any new verb of movement or communication or relationship in English, don't just ask yourself what the word means. Observe its behavior in sentences.
Okay.
If you see it used without a preposition like to, where you might expect one, ask yourself, why? Why is this word allowed to bypass the standard rules? What inherent directional power does it possess that requires no assistance from to? If you can start answering that why question for yourself, then you'll have moved from simply using English words to truly understanding English structure.
That critical observation, that structural awareness is the real shortcut then. Keep listening for those signals. Keep asking why. And you'll find these 16 traps and others like them become predictable, powerful patterns that will definitely elevate your communication immediately.